Hey guys, Jose here from Transformative Stories Podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about anxiety. Now, this is a pretty heavy topic, and I want to be sensitive of that. But I wanted to share a little bit of something that I had gone through that was pretty difficult, and then how I was able to overcome it. And I hope that if there is anybody listening right now that's currently going through some type of anxiety or depression, I really hope that you could be encouraged today by what you hear and hopefully seek out some help if needed. So this actually goes back in 2014. I was preparing to go and start a master's program, which was going to consist of me leaving to go to Southern California for the first semester and then potentially go overseas for about a year and a half. Now, this was a huge decision, right? There was a series of confirmation that made it very clear that I was supposed to be going through this master's program. I was excited, but I was also very scared because of everything that it consisted of. Now, this master's program wasn't like any master's program. All right, it wasn't that I was just going to go be located in some other campus and be sitting in a classroom or anything like that. No, I was actually preparing to go over to live in the slums. Now, I wasn't sure which country I was going to be sent out to, so I was just completely going blindsided to this brand new area, brand new city, and then to a brand new country. So there was a lot of emotions that came with that. But my earliest memory of my first anxiety attack was actually in Mexico. So I took a trip to Mexico to go visit some family before I went over to Los Angeles. And I remember sitting in the room, and I was laying down on my bed, and I was reading my Bible. I don't remember what I was reading, but I remember kind of feeling a little dizzy. I felt like the room was starting to spin. Like the text kind of seemed like it was like almost like pulsating, like it was coming in and out. Started getting sweaty, and I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Never felt this before. My heart was racing as well. So I decided to, go outside and get some fresh air, close the Bible. Went outside, and my two younger brothers were sitting down with somebody. And so I kind of, just sat down next to them and tried to engage in conversation. I just couldn't be around them. I felt that every noise was amplified. I still felt like my heart was just coming out of my chest. And so I don't remember what I said, but I just said, okay, hey guys, I'm going to go take a little walk. So I walked out to an area just to be by myself, and I sat down on a bench, and I remember just breaking down crying, just bawling. And all I remember saying is, I want to go home. I want to go home. And it was the weirdest feeling because I was there with my family. I wasn't there by myself. I was there with my family. I was with my parents. I don't remember if all three of my brothers were there, but at least the two younger ones were. And I kept saying, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. So that trip to Mexico was pretty hard. I was pretty convinced that I wanted to leave, but I was like, no, I'm here with family. I gotta stick it out. So made it through. Came back to the States. Shortly after, I started packing my things, and I made my way over to Los Angeles. Now, Los Angeles was very different for me. I grew up in the Bay Area, lived in different parts of the Bay Area, lived in Sacramento area for a little bit. So Los Angeles was completely different, a brand new area for me, a lot more fast paced and noisier. It was just a whole different atmosphere. And I remember several times out of the week just having the craziest anxiety attacks, where I feel like very similar to what I had felt in Mexico, except just amplified. Again, my heart's racing, I'm sweaty, I'm breathing fast, I'm having these crazy nightmares. Um, and I feel like the worst part about it was that I didn't know what it was. I'm saying anxiety now because I actually had to go and seek out help, and the psychologist was able to tell me what I was going through. But in the moment, I had no idea what it was. Personally, I thought that it was some kind of, spiritual attack. So I would usually in these moments, I would just go into praying, and just trying to read scripture. But I felt like I really, especially with like reading scripture, I felt that I couldn't even concentrate because there were so many things that were running through my mind. And I couldn't really pinpoint to what was triggering the anxiety, right? I couldn't think of if it was a specific thing, if it was a combination of several things. So all that I couldn't identify it, I couldn't find out what was triggering it, made it that much more complicated. But just to kind of describe it a little bit more, along with the other symptoms that I was facing, I was losing weight. I was not sleeping very well, and I was having these crazy nightmares. I remember I used to have a journal right next to my bed, and when I would wake up from some crazy dream or any dream in general, I started writing it down. I started writing it down just to kind of have, just remember, whatever it was that I was dreaming, or if there was anything that maybe was symbolic. So I remember too, there was just times where I was laying down on the ground and it took every part of me to get me off the ground. I just felt that my body was so weak. I felt that I just could not move and just wanted to just lay there and not do anything. There was times too where I lived on the second floor in this apartment with 3 other guys. And there was times where I'd go outside and just look at the sky, and I'm like, God, why are you allowing this to happen? Why is this happening? Is this like a sign that I'm not supposed to be going through with this, or why am I going through this? And so I remember getting to a point where I was so close to throwing in the towel. I was so close to just saying, screw it. Like, why go through this? My car is right there in the parking lot. I could just hop in the car, drive off, and not move forward with this master's program. So instead of doing that, I decided to push through with the help of some friends and some family that were very supportive. They were able to encourage me, and my family had assured me too that it's, hey, if you don't feel like you're supposed to be doing this, you don't want to go through this, you could always stop. But there was another part of me that just kept telling me, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And I remember during this time, during this time of difficulty, one of the things that was very hard during this time is that I had recently lost a friend to overdose. He had overdosed on drugs, and so this was like the combination of moving to a new area, leaving everything behind, stepping into this unknown place, and then thinking about moving to another country that's completely foreign to me, thinking about my friend, and just not having a job, all these other things. It was really heavy on me. And so I got to a point where I said, okay, this is not going well, and this is not going to end well. So I really need to get some help. So thankfully, I was able to seek out counsel from a counselor at the school. Super helpful. I had never gone through counseling in my life. This was my first time ever. And this psychologist was able to identify the triggers that were in me. And he gave me some breathing techniques that I was able to utilize as well whenever this thing happened. And I had found out through him is that one of the worst things that you can do when these anxiety attacks are happening is to try to resist them. He said, as hard as it sounds, or as hard as it is, and as weird as it sounds, is you literally have to feel your feelings and just write it out. And that's exactly what I did. I would feel the anxiety attack about to happen. I'd close my eyes. I'd try to imagine the images that the psychologist had given me. I used the breathing techniques, and I would literally feel the anxiety attack come upon me, and then slowly just drift away. And I felt like the first time that I was able to do that, that it was almost like a sign of victory for me, of this thing has no power over me. Looking back at it now, it was necessary for this to happen because of the things that I experienced in Brazil. You know, in Brazil, it wasn't as quick as something to LA. It was, all right, I'm going to hop in the car, you know, drive 6 hours or so, and then just go back home, or take a flight, you know, be home back in an hour or something. I was in a country, another country, that it's a lot longer than a drive. You can't drive, and it's a very long flight back home. So I feel that being able to get help, being able to overcome this very dark moment in my life, I was able to become stronger as a person. My faith in Jesus grew that much stronger. And I felt that I was able to share my story with other people and provide some kind of hope, right? In my life, unfortunately, I've had a lot of friends who have just given up, right? That they just threw in the towel and said, I'm done with my life. And all it takes, guys, is one thing. One shot to the head, one overdose, one jumping off of a cliff or a bridge. That's all it takes. And to be honest, guys, the anxiety attacks, this was the first time that I've experienced it. But as far as depression goes, this is not the first time. You know, I went through my dark moment in high school, where I was hiding my hurt, my anger from my family, from my friends. Nobody knew. I was usually known as the guy that was, you know, always kind of like messing around, the skater guy, cracking jokes, and, you know, kind of like the life of the party, right? That's kind of how people knew me. But what was really going on inside was very dark. I was battling depression a lot. This is going to be new news to maybe a lot of family and friends that are hearing this, but I used to carry a razor blade with me inside of my wallet, and I used to cut my wrist with it. I used to have cuts all over my body, all over my arms, and sometimes even on like my stomach and chest. And the reason why I did that was because I felt that there were so many voices going on in my head. And I wanted him to stop. And I felt that one of the ways to make him stop is to make it so I'm focused on the pain on my arm or wherever else I cut, that was in some way going to be able to help me to not think about the things that were going on in my head, right? So I turned to alcohol. Again, I turned to cutting, to girls, anything to be able to distract myself. And all those things were temporary fixes, right? Those things fade away, right? All those, the pain, the physical pain, it'll hurt for a moment, It might distract you from whatever's going on in your head for a moment, but it's not going to solve the issue, right? So, it took my parents becoming aware of what was going on. Me showing, it was first I showed my mom the cuts on my body. Obviously, my mom freaked out, told my dad, and then it was after a conversation with my dad that was kind of like a big turning point in my life, where he had just kind of sat me down and said, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And my dad just started saying, "Can you imagine what it would do to our family if you were to take your own life? If you were to not be here anymore?" He said, "I would literally have to remove everything in the house that reminds us of you to be able to just move forward." All right, so all your pictures, videos, clothes, everything that belongs to you, I would have to get rid of it in order for us to be able to move forward. And it was that, honestly, whether that's the right thing to say to somebody or not, for me, it helped me a lot. It helped me significantly because it helped me to see how much people cared, right? Because in the moment, when I was dealing with my depression, I didn't feel like people cared. I don't know why I felt like that. I had a loving family, I had friends, I had people that were there for me that I could always go to, but for whatever reason, I always still felt empty. And that conversation with my dad, he had suggested to go and seek out some help. He even offered, he's like, "Hey, if you want me to find somebody for you, we can do that for you." And I said, "No, you know what, it's fine. Don't need that. I'll find help by myself." And in short, I had gone over to a local church, and I don't remember if it was my first time that I went there or like after a few Sundays that I had gone there, that I felt that the pastor's message was written specifically for me. Like everything he was saying was like, "Yup, yup, yup, that's me. Yup, that's what I'm going through." And there was an invitation for me to invite Jesus into my heart as my Lord and my Savior, and that's exactly what I did. Now, did things get easy overnight? No, they didn't. I'd say that there was maybe even some times after that where I'd still cut, but it was a different feeling. All right, it was like I got to a point where I had no desire to do that stuff anymore because I knew it wasn't doing anything for me. It was more of like, I need to give whatever it is that I'm going through to God. I need to utilize whatever resources are out there. If I need to talk to a psychologist, go like vent to a friend or whatever, I need to not be silent about these things. And that's exactly what happened, right? God's been with me every step of the way. He's helped me through the roughest of times. He's put some people in my life that are just, that are like brothers and sisters to me that have been there with me through the most difficult times. That whole incident where I opened up to my parents happened my senior year of high school. So I was back in 2008. And not until 2014 did I start kind of going through this really dark phase of anxiety and depression, which is a really long time, right? And I was able to make it through that, and I was able to get to a better place. So, guys, I hope that this speaks to one of you guys. I hope that this speaks to several of you guys. Anxiety, depression, it's a real thing, right? Your pain is a real thing. It's a dark, really dark place to be. Don't be silent. Seek out help if you need it. There's people out there. People care about you. Family cares about you, even though it may not feel that way. There's somebody out there that cares about you, and you have God there that loves you and cares about you, and He's waiting for you. So, guys, again, I hope that you take this to heart. If there's somebody that needs to hear what I'm saying, then hey, great. If you need to share this video with them, great. But ultimately, you could hear whatever I say or whatever else anybody says and be like, oh man, that was great. I needed to hear that. That's awesome. I'm happy about that. But go seek help if you need it. You guys are not alone. Thank you guys for listening.